Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round number 2 of the W2W Championship Tier 2 Championship under the floodlights and extreme heat of the desert at the Bahrain International Circuit, not too far away from the capital of the country, Manama. This 5.4 kilometer 15 corner layout has 3 DRS zones, one into turn 1, another into turn 4 and another into turn 11, promising to make things exciting in the laps to come. In this race, expect some action into turn 1, maybe. Let's see if we could get a repeat of Hamilton's triple overtake back in 2018, or at least a move or some battles that are so exciting to that extent. And take a look as well, at least in the opening lap, towards turn number 10. Very tricky spot to slow the car down for, and of course, especially in the first lap, we might have some chaos and some drama in the mix there as well. As you can see, we have the C1, the C2 and C3 tires, softs, mediums and hards available to us today. And now we can take a look at our standings. According to the finishing results at Australia, Lira won the race and is the leader with 25 points. Then it is Cuba in second with 18, followed by Lasher with 15. Then you have Colored Lonely with 12, followed by Brazen with 11. Then we have the best of the Ferraris in Rob Stark with 8 points. Progza, his teammate, follows with 6. Black Widow with 4. Asiox in 9th place with 2, and Wizok, the last of the points scored so far, with only 1 point. Taking a look at the Constructors' Championship, we have Haas leading the championship with 40 points, followed by Mercedes 22 points behind. Then we have Red Bull in third with 15. Then we have Ferrari 1 point behind us. Racing Point follows in 5th with 12 points. McLaren in 6th with only 2 points so far. And Toro Rosso, the last of the point scorers, with 1 point to their name. So, as you guys can see, we don't have sound. Oh, okay, that was just the pause menu. I thought we had the glitch again from the sound. Let me just sort out everything in my second monitor. By the way, I just noticed that the logo should be a little bit lower, because that was covering a little bit of the standings thing. Okay, that is fixed. And let me sort out everything else in my other monitor. Okay, bringing up chat. And yeah, Gary Gunn, Racebug Dinozo, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, Colored Lonely, and Jess, welcome you all to the live stream. How are you doing? Let's get ourselves started. The qualifying has already some cars out on track. So we are going to follow Crime, who's about to finish his in lap. Going to take our details out there and enable both telemetry and lap data. Let's get ourselves in the cockpit cam to take a commentated lap around this circuit. Once again, 5.4 kilometer, 15 corners. You get DRS. He is on the hard tires. Of course, not the best traction out of them. Let's see what he does. Nails the apex very nicely through turn 1. Meant to be smooth on the power, especially on that compound of tire through turn 2. DRS is wide open through open DRS. And we get ourselves slowing down 100 meters away from corner number 4. Smooth on the power once again. We don't want to recreate the spin that Vettel protagonized early on the real life F1 season. Taking a careful look at those curbs. Crime didn't do that and is in the wall. Managed to save it, quite like Hamilton did yesterday through the last couple corners at Germany. But he's going to have to try again. Okay, so that's it for his lap. Let's take a look at Lira is still in the pits as the Williams there does a mistake. Let's take a look at Asiox, the French driver, just started his flying lap, giving it all from his hybrid power unit. Once again, DRS wide open on the approach to turn number 4. 100 meters away you go, hard on the brakes, bringing down to third gear, smooth on the power on the exit. That is the end of the first sector. We now get to turn 6 or 5 and 6, then downhill through 7 as we now take a big braking zone as well into the hairpin of turn 8. The game decided to give the revs of his McLaren a bit of a stroke as he's going downhill once again into turn 10. Very tricky braking zone, but he's away cleanly. The DRS is open on the back of that McLaren. As you can see, the braking zone is a bit tricky to spot. It's not exactly at 50 meters away from the corner. It's about 60 or 70, I would say, as we bring the car down to corner number 11. Uphill now to corners 12 and 13. Also very tricky to keep traction throughout the race as the tires start to lose life, and those are corners that demand a lot of the tires. Now, big braking zone 100 meters away from the last two corners of this layout. He's going to get cleanly out of the corner. It looks to me like it was a clean exit. DRS wide open, going to cross over the line, and it is a 1:30.0 for the Frenchman. Third place so far from the McLaren driver. Nicely done. We already have a couple cars crossing the line so far. Lasher is going to take the end of his second flying lap. He looks like he aborted the first one, so he's going to give another try at it. Is he going to set a lap time? He's on hards. Let's see what he does. It's going to be second place. 1:29.7, getting the best lap times out of the hard runners so far in this session. Very well done by the Haas driver. Taking a look at Lira, who is still in the... No, he's already... Sorry. No, he's still in the first sector, so we're going to take a look at him later on. Actually not, because... Yeah, actually let's keep with Lira, because all other drivers have already done times laps as Lira with a mistake similar to Crime. Lira making a mistake, losing the rear on the downhill there, and he's going to have to try out again. Oversteer, he's making his debut. He didn't show up for the race at Australia, so the Toro Rosso driver, the Indian Toro Rosso driver, is making his debut. Flying lap for him on the softs. Let's see what he does. He's going to be patient once again, looking for the 100 meter marker once again. Going on the brakes, smooth on the power as well. Going nicely through this downhill section now. Cannot abuse the curbs. It took a bit of hesitation there. I'm pretty sure his lap was nullified there because of that hesitation. Now moving to Black Widow, as she is in the middle sector in that Red Bull. Her teammate Brazian has done a 1:30.8 on hards. Let's see what she does. I haven't posted a lap time just yet. Getting now to turn number 11. Bit of hesitation there, but managed to get cleanly on the uphill. Let's see, these tires sometimes struggle a bit for grip through this corner. Very demanding for the tires, especially as if your suspension is quite stiff. So the drivers need to take a look for that. 100 meters away is the braking marker to respect. It looks like around this circuit. Away she goes, up through the gears, open the RS, going to cross over the line, and it is provisory pole. What a lap from Black Widow. 1:29.5 takes provisory pole on the hard compound. What a brilliant performance from the number 95 of the Red Bull. Taking a look at the other drivers that were about to complete their laps. Radek is still in the third sector. Gozieg is in the pit, so yeah, I guess it is Radek the next to cross the line. Crime is in sector 2, so let's take a look at Radek as he's getting through the last corner, trying to get a clean exit out of it. Is already derating, might not help him, but 1:29.0, new fastest lap from the Mercedes driver. Let's take a look now at Crime and Solo. Let me try to find out. Okay, Crime is further into his lap, so let's follow the Hungarian driver. Sorry, not the Hungarian, the Bulgarian driver. Sorry about this, my cable is a bit loose. my previous cable got ruined, and this cable is a replacement, an emergency replacement, and it is a bit loose, so some movements and it disconnects. Sorry about that, guys, but it was the best I could come up with in such a little space of time. Grime crosses the line, not just narrowly beating his teammate. Sorry, actually not, I read that time wrong. It's a 130.8, but only beats his teammate by one position, and ends solo with a 131.5, slots right in between the Alfa Romeos. So everyone so far has done a lap apart from Lira, who after his mistake... oh, there's a collision with Grime from Blake. Cohen Blake colliding with Grime. He has no front wing. Not sure at all what happened there, but yeah, Cohen Blake is out. Not out, but missing a front wing. Is going to have to go into the pits to replace that one. And he gets a 5th-place grid penalty for his trouble. So he's not going to get the result he wanted out of this. He really needs to get back in and do the lap of his life. He needs pole at the very least to minimize as possible the penalty. So let's follow Rob Stark, as the Ferrari driver is about to get through the end of the first sector in his flying lap. I'm also keeping a close eye on Lira, who's still on his out lap. The winner of the previous race had a mistake in this exact corner where Rob Stark is going through right now and hasn't posted a lap time yet. Kozieg hasn't posted a lap time yet, and Color Lonely having an off and out of the session, didn't even post a lap time, so he's going to start from the back of the pack. Away from corner number 10 very cleanly was the German of the Ferrari, up through the gears, just taking a tricky braking zone into turn 11, starting to go uphill now. Avoid that inside curb like the plague if you don't want to spin. He's improving his lap time by over a second. 1.7 seconds was the improvement going through this previous sector time. Getting now missing the apex, a bit of hesitation on the turn in. He's also not using the full width of the track. That's going to cost him some tenths, but he's actually going to abort the lap. So maybe he made a mistake that nullified the lap. Now taking a look at Lira, let's see what he does. Down to second gear through the first corner, smooth on the power, going over the curb, cutting as much as he dared, as we now go up to the gears to our second DRS zone. Hard on the brakes once again, a little bit later than 100 meters in fact for Lira there. I just noticed that one. He's braking a bit later, managed to still clip the apex quite nicely. As we now starting going downhill, he actually took the curb there to help rotate the car that punished him in the previous lap, but managed to do it perfectly right now. Up through the gears once again at the exit of the hairpin, and we go from a slow corner into another very slow corner. Misses the apex a little bit, but that sometimes can actually help you keep more speed through the corner. Away he goes, no wheel spin whatsoever coming out of that very, very important traction zone. Not using the full weight of the track as he hits the apex of corner number 11, taking as wide as he can of an approach into corner number 12 before slowing down into 13. Away he goes now, taking a full weight of the track as much as he could before getting nullified. Went quite aggressively onto that exit curb. 100 away from the corner, 100 meters away from the corner. He's going up to the gears again. DRS wide open on the back of his Haas, and he's going to cross over the line with the 128.2, and look at that, new provisory pole. What a lap by Lira. That's how it's done, almost a full second quicker than Radek, as Gary Gunn in the meantime also moved Black Widow down to P4. Black Widow is qualified so far on the mediums though. Now let's take a look at the other driver that hasn't done a lap just yet. Kuba in one of the Mercedes gets P2 with a 128.6. So Kozieg is still in the first sector. We have a Brazian that's going to abort his lap. We have Progza in the sector 1 as well, and Overseer is in the third sector. So let's take a look at the Indian driver of the Toro Rosso. Is actually going to abort his lap going into the pits. Progza is in the second sector, is about to approach turn 10. Gozzieg is a bit further up the lap, so we're going to take a look at him as he's about to finish his lap. So taking the corners 11 and 12 there, going full beans on it. Let's see if he improves. He actually extended that one, and this lap is nullified. I don't know if you guys noticed, but he didn't show what improvement he was doing. So he actually got a lap nullification for exceeding the track limits. Let's take a look at Wizok, who's just getting through turn number 10. Just spotted an improvement of 1/10 over his previous lap. Not enough to beat Brazian, but let's see what he does. He's improving on the lap so far. Let's see what he does at the end of the second sector. He's currently on the soft tires. Not sure what tires he was on his previous attempt, but look at that, an 8/10 improvement over his previous best lap. Almost going off the track limits there at the exit. That was a good shot of how close he came to exceeding the white line with all 4 tires. Let's see how he does now, getting on the exit of the last corner, up through the gears. He's not running out of ERS, which is going to give him full power throughout the entire straight, and he moves up to P6, 129.3. 11 is what the British driver of the Toro Rosso does. Taking a look at Progza, he is now taking his car back into the pits. We have Radek about to close the lap. He's over 3/10 slower than his previous lap, so I'm not sure if he's going to abort that lap or not. He's still giving it pins. Is he going to try anything into the last corner? Let's see. Is he trying to get 3/10 back? No, he's going to abort that one. That's probably going to be it for his chances. He needs to be quick if he wants to get back out there for a lap. Black Widow already started her flying lap. DRS wide open on the back of her Red Bull. Let's see what she does. Going on board with her, the Dutch driver going downhill, taking the right, taking the left. That curb might be deadly, and even more the one on the exit. Fortunately, she wasn't caught up in that one, and just to get through cleanly. Even though it looks like so far it hasn't been as good of a lap as the previous one. Also taking a bit too deep into corner number 10. And Gozzieg is also, well pointed out, colored by in the chat. Gozzieg is out of the session without the lap time posted, so colored lonely is not last. There you have the last row of the grid. Colored lonely in 18 and Gozzieg in 19th. Black Widow getting a bit wide through there. Not sure if he's going to get her lap nullified or not. Currently in 7th. This is going to improve. Let's find out. Getting through the last corner now. Gonna give it full beans now at the exit of this corner. I believe she's going to run out of ERS, but ERS is wide open. Going to cross over the line, and it is a 128.9. Brilliant lap from the Red Bull driver there. And of course, thank you very much, controller. Come on. Thank you very much. Now let's take a look at Garrigan, who's also on a flying lap. Improved through the second sector by... Wait, was it an improvement or... Oh no, okay. I guess he is still on his out lap, because he's on 0 ERS. I guess he was on his flying lap but aborted it, and now he's preparing another lap. So we'll have Garrigan. I don't know why he's slowing down. I know there was a Williams there somewhere. Maybe he was just trying to create a gap. But that's going to kill all of his momentum into the corner. He should have slowed down earlier if he was going to do anything like that. Nonetheless, we're going to follow him as Radek, Progza, Wizok, Oversteer, Taraku and Rob Stark are not going to be able to improve their times. Rob Stark starting in 16th, unfortunately for him. Let's see what the Renault driver does. He finished the race in P12, not the great start of the season. He's having a much better performance here so far in this qualifying session. I'm actually going to take a look at the other drivers. I think Black Widow is taking it back to the pits. Kuba is already in sector 2, improving by a 10th. Lira is in sector 3, improving by 4/10 so far. He's going to get his lap done. Let's see what time it is. He's going to cross over the line. Crime retires from the session, and it is a 127.6. What a lap from Lira. What a lap from the Croatian. second, 1 full second quicker than Kuba's lap. The Czech driver of the Mercedes is going to try to improve on that as he's about to get through the last 2 corners of the circuit as well. That's how it goes. It's going to cross over the line, and it is going to be a 128.2, not enough, but still manages to get P2. Now we have Gary Gunn, who is about to cross the line, already in the start-finish straight, crosses over the line, and it is going to try to take a look at the steering wheel, and it is P3 for the Renault driver. Couldn't quite see what lap time it was for him, but it was a 3rd place from Gary Gunn. It was a 128.8, just a tint quicker than Black Widow on the medium. So Lira takes pole, Kuba in P2, Gary Gunn P3, Black Widow the best of the medium runners in P4, Georgia in 5th, then Radek in the 2nd, Mercedes in 6th, Brazian in the 2nd, Red Bull in 7th, Lasher in 8th, in the 2nd, Haas, Progza in the best of the Ferraris in 9th, and Rizok closes the top 10. Then we have Oversteer, Quinn, Blake, Krine, Ezok, Staraku, Hop, Stark, and Solo, and Carl Lonely, and Goziag, both not posting a time, though we have a penalty, a 5-place penalty on the grid for Cohen Blake. That is going to be interesting to see how he reacts to that one at the start. So just waiting for everyone's loading procedures to be done. I'm pretty sure they are discussing with their Jeffs what is the best strategy. Speaking of strategies, I have in my notes 2 strategies that could be done. Mediums to hards. Those who start on mediums can go to the hards at lap 11. Of course, those who started on the hards, if there are any of them, can do the reverse, can take them for about 17-18 laps and then switch to the mediums to complete the 11 laps of the race. Or those who start on the softs can go soft, medium, medium, pitting at lap 8 and at lap 17. So let me just get everything ready in terms of the details there, the telemetry and lap data. Yes, Dinozo, I do need a new USB cable. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait a bit for it. I'm going to have to wait a bit to find one, to be honest. But yeah, taking a look at the order, we have 1, 2, 3 drivers of the top 10 were able to do laps on mediums and still qualify in the top 10, and we have 3 drivers who selected the hards for the beginning of the Grand Prix. It is Taraku in the Alfa Romeo and Solo in the Williams, and Collard Lonely in the Force India or the Racing Point. All 3 of them opted to start on the white marked hard tires. So it's going to be interesting to see. No one outside of the top 10 went for the softs as their start tire. So is what it is. Let's see how well these drivers get away from the grid mark. So of course, no, it doesn't matter how good of a strategy they might have. Some of those guys outside the top 10 might have just great starts and manage to pull off the one stops, or they might collide into someone and the one stop goes down the toilet, basically. So it's going to be very crucial to have good first couple laps, trying to stay out of trouble, especially for those outside of the top 10 who are trying to make the one stop work. I'm not sure if there is any possibility of starting on the softs and making the one stop work. I'm pretty sure it's going to be very hard unless they can take those tires to lap 10. Maybe they can go on hards until the end. It's going to be tricky, but let's find out. Let's see what drivers are the most confident on their tire conservation skills. There we have it now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go for the Bahrain Grand Prix. A bad start there from Kuba, not reacting well to the starts. Gary Gunn already jumps to P2. Black Widow getting a good start out of all three. The Renault gets shoved wide. It's going to be chaotic this first approach. There is a Mercedes bouncing all over the place. Gary Gunn manages to recover up to P3. A good recovery there from the Renault. Black Widow maintains P4. Radek actually got a better exit and is going to challenge the Red Bull into turn number 4. Actually going quite aggressively over the curve. That's going to cost her time, and she's now getting pressurized by Georgia in the racing point. Manages to not find a gap through and is going to stay put in 6th place. There's a moment there as he goes over the curbs at the exit of turn 7, loses the rear and manages to keep ahead of the Ferrari though. Black Widow and Radek are still battling it out for P4. Black Widow tried to come back having a better exit of turn 8, but she's going to have to stay put in P5 for now. Radek on those softs having a better exit. Rob Stark, look at that, what a start so far. Qualified in P16 I believe, and is already up to P10 on his mediums, getting the inside of Brazian, who got very wide, actually mounted the curb there on the outside of turn 11, and there's contact with Rob Stark. I'm not sure what happened there to the Ferrari. Rob Stark was doing so well and is now on the side of the track. There's also severe front wing damage for the Red Bull. Look at that right side of his front wing is completely destroyed. Cohen Blake is going to try to recover some places after his 5th place grid penalty for the collision during qualifying. Couldn't quite get inside on Brazian. Brazian is going to try to carry on, but basically the right side of his front wing is non-existent. We have another round of the Radek Black Twig though battle as oversteer gets already a 5-second penalty for exceeding the speed at the pit entry, as he's going to change the front wing, I'm sure of. So a bad start of the season for the Indian driver of the Toro Rosso. Radek can't quite find the gap to get past Widow, which should actually be very important for his strategy, considering he's going to have to do a 2-stop, or at least I'm expecting him so. So getting himself past the medium runners would be quite crucial for his strategy. Of course, his battling with Black Widow actually ends up benefiting all the other drivers ahead of him that started on the softs, as we also have changes between Crime and George. George dropped down, he was in 6th a couple laps ago, he's now down to P8. Crime might try to take advantage of that, trying to overtake the racing point. He's not able to do so into turn 11. Carter Lonely, also a great start from the racing point driver. He started 2nd last from the pack, just ahead of Goziag. Goziag up to P12 and Carter Lonely into the top 10. So great starts from the drivers that were sitting on the last row of the grid. Finally, we have the Bulgarian having a go down the inside of corners 14 and 15. Let's see, he's going to squeeze a little bit Georgia too wide onto the curb. He's not going to have the optimal power, the optimal traction out of that corner. Of course, accelerating over the curb. It might be too wide though. Crime is, oh, that was very tight, but wise maneuver there from Colored Lonely. As soon as I was praising him, he goes straight into the back of Crime, and Goziag takes no prisoner. Sorry, that was Aziox actually. The Frenchman just says thank you very much, slots right onto the inside. There was a bit of contact there, so not the cleanest maneuver ever, but nonetheless moves up to P11 right before Colored Lonely says I will take that one back, I didn't like your maneuver, and moves back up to P10. Great maneuver down the inside, great courage there from Colored Lonely to take both racing points into the top 10. Great battle for the last of the points paying positions we see on display. Now Crime, the Bulgarian, managed to pull up to P8. He was squeezing Colored Lonely into the side of Georgia, as we have Progza making a mistake. Lasher is getting the RS on him. It's going to be side by side into turn 11, and the Lasher moves up a pace and is up to P6. The Haas making some work as well. Did not have the greatest of starts. I believe he started the race in 6th, dropped down a couple places, made his way back up to P6. So far he's now under a second of Radek. So Radek is going to give him the RS, but Progza is going to have a go down the inside. The puffs of smoke coming out of his tires as he locks up the brakes, but managed to keep the car without any contact from the Haas right in front of him, even though that mistake cost him the exit, so he's not going to have an opportunity into turn 1 unless Lasher made any mistakes, which is not the case, and is going to have to be content with P10 at the moment. Looking at Georgia, very close to a crime, but still no opportunities coming to the way of the Racing Point driver. Goziag, after sorry, not Goziag, where is Aziox? Oh goddamn, I'm sorry about this. Where Aziox dropped a lot of places after getting overtaken by the Racing Point. Radek drops a place to Lasher, so a mistake there coming out of the airpin off turn 8, and Radek is down to P6. Lasher moves up the creation, moves up to P5, and both Haas in the top 5. Looks like Lasher is going to try to have the best job he can to get himself into the top 3. He knows that his teammate is very strong and is leading the race again, so if he wants to take the championship fight to his teammate, he needs to get past Black Widow, needs to get past Gary Gunn and Cuba to have a chance. Lyra is superior on pace, I would say, as we have Gary Gunn having a go at Black Widow. It's the medium runner against the soft runner, a bit of a corner cut there from Black Widow, I would say. The game is not giving her illegal penalty, illegal overtake warning there, so no places conceded. As you can see, it's going to be on the track battle if there are going to be any changes. Black Widow did not have to concede the place back to Gary Gunn for that overtake, and is up to P3. So, as I was saying, it is going to be quite tricky as Cohen Blake takes it to the pits to get rid of that set of mediums and potentially replace his front wing as well. As you have a inter-teammate battle, Georgia and Colored Lonely coming to wheel at the exit of turn number 4. Ooh, Georgia having to back out there. That could have been dicey indeed if those two were stubborn enough to get through that corner. Still side by side, Georgia taking the sensible approach, letting his teammate, who apparently is much quicker, Georgia is on softs, Colored Lonely is on hards, and Lonely is at least as fast as Georgia. Of course, in lap 4, these soft tires degrade very quickly, so of course he might be already struggling with that, especially after a bit of battle he already has had to hold on his place. But yeah, as you can see, oh, Radek with a 3-second time penalty for one too many corner cuts. Progza having a moment there, a bit of a tank slapper coming out of turn number 13. Crime is gonna get close enough to get DRS on him. I believe Georgia gets a 5 seconds penalty for exceeding track limits. Progza is going to the pits. We have Kuba in the pits as well, so we already have the first set of changes. Kuba going to change to mediums. It's going to be the 2-stop strategy for the Czech driver of the Mercedes. Progza also on the mediums, going to take the 2-stop approach to the race as well. Both of them are going to come out in P13. Is Rob Stark going to overtake? It's going to be close, but the Ferrari does keep himself ahead. So P13 for Kuba and P15 for Progza, who comes out of the pits behind Taraku. Taking a look at the front, Lyra up to still in P1. Black Widow inherited second place there with the pit stop from Cuba. But the thing is, these guys on softs, I expect them to be on the 2-stop. Black Widow is on a more advantageous strategy as she's going on the 1-stop. Lasher is also going on the 1-stop. So maybe this is the way he's trying to make to take the championship battle to his teammate. The Croatian is going to do the 2-stop, and Lasher is going to try to do the 1-stop. He knows he's slower, so maybe trying to be smarter, maybe taking a better approach perhaps. Of course, the pit stops take time, of course, and it can just be, he's no slouch, not detracting from Lasher, he's no slouch, he's not being pulverized by Lyra, of course, but he does need to, he can't match his teammate on pace, unfortunately for him. So if he can just be quick enough to not lose out the entire pit stop time, he might be on the cards for the race win. Gary Gunn and Radek both pit for the mediums. Once again, those two guys started on the soft, so they are going for the 3-stop. Gary Gunn is going to come out of the pits in P13. Let's take a look at that. I believe, yes, it is P13, but Radek might try to take the fight right at the exit of the pit stop. He actually challenged there for a little bit, but then they probably realized after that they can't exceed the limits, the white line, until the end of it. So unfortunately for him, couldn't try to make a maneuver into P13 at that point. Now looking at Jojo, who's been still very close. I am sure he's struggling on his tires, and that's why he hasn't pulled the trigger, but he has been very close. There was a mistake from both racing points actually, as Colored Lonely goes very wide. Georgia is going to say thank you very much and overtake. Is something wrong with Colored Lonely? I'm not sure. Does he have front wing? I don't see front wing damage. I thought maybe he went into the back of Crime, but no, there doesn't look like there is any front wing damage. Cuba overtakes Han Solo quite easily. He has softer tires and much fresher tires. One stop from softs is never gonna happen, I see in chat. I mean, it depends. If you can take mediums for 11 laps and then hards to the end, you just have to try to take softs to lap 11. It's going to be hard, of course, to take softs to lap 11. I never said it was easy, but it is possible if you are good enough on the tires. Let's see. So Wizok is going to get rid of those softs and going to replace front wing. The British driver of the Toro Rosso going to set a new set of softs. Am I seeing that correctly, or is the game just trolling me? No, looks like it's a second set of softs for Wizok. So maybe he's trying to go soft, medium? Not sure, but we'll find out. He comes out of the pits just ahead of his teammate in P16. Gary Gunn overtook Tarakuas. Of course, he's just with fresh tires out of the pits. Taraku is on hards, much older, harder tires. So that is it for that specific battle. Rob Stark has been closing in on Han Solo after his mistake. He's already less than a second behind the Williams. He's going to benefit from DRS at this point. Rob Stark was hit from behind. I'm pretty sure he had a loss of traction into corner number 12, and that's to slow down the car to regain control, but the car behind, I believe it was oversteer at that point, wasn't really able to avoid him, and with that Rob Stark spun but did not touch the barrier, so his front wing is still intact, so his pace is intact, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to challenge the Williams down the straight. Actually looks like, no, it looks like he had the slower exit. He's going to 1 on the ERS, and take a look at that. Lira has come out of the pits and is already side by side battling Gozieg. Look at that, already up on the hards. He's going to take those home, and yeah, maybe Lira is that good on the hards. Let's see. He's going to try, the correction is going to try to do the one stop, so let's see how it goes. For the Haas driver, he's actually going for the one stop. I was expecting him to do the two stop, but he's actually going for the one stop. Of course, Lasher, his tires were better for the past couple laps because they are mediums. They degrade slower than the softs, and once Lasher pits, he's going to have fresher tires than Lira. So Lira might struggle severely on his tires in the later stages of the race. Might be a great opportunity for Lasher to win. Of course, for that to happen, Lasher needs to jump Black Widow. But I believe that goes without saying. Crime is 5 seconds behind Lasher. Lasher is 6 seconds behind Black Widow. So as it stands for the moment, nothing is going to change soon on that order. We have Kuba trying to make his way up through the pack again, closing in on Gozieg. Less than a second separates him and the McLaren driver, the Canadian McLaren driver. Of course, he was too far away for him to challenge, but look, oh, Gozieg is actually letting him through. He knows that is not his battle, and he's actually going to let him through. That was a bit surprising. Even Cuba got surprised there, almost nearly avoiding a collision, because as Gozieg slowed down unexpectedly from Kuba's point of view. But he goes up to P6, doesn't have trouble dealing with other drivers. And yeah, he's going on his merry way, trying to close down Lira for the battle for the win. Of course, Cuba still has another pit stop to do until the end of the race. Rob Stark has jumped to P9. I believe Garrigan, yes, Garrigan has pitted recently, promoted and Solo and Rob Stark. Rob Stark hasn't been able to overtake the Williams. At this point, I would say and Solo has better wear on his tires. Let's not forget Rob Stark had his spin, so scraping the tires along the floor probably damaged them quite considerably. So he's going to be struggling a bit on those. God damn it, my USB cable is killing me today. But yeah, Rob Stark hasn't, surprisingly to me, hasn't been able to overtake the Williams. They might actually get jumped by Garrigan. It goes down the inside. Opportunistic maneuver there from the Renault driver and is up to P9. Garrigan, but Rob Stark isn't giving up. The German of the Ferrari is going down the inside, going over the curb quite aggressively. That's not going to give him a good exit whatsoever, and is going to have to stay put in P10. Garrigan on his end, he has DRS on and Solo, and I'm pretty sure he's going to try to dispatch the Williams much quicker than Rob Stark has been doing so far. Looking up ahead, Carlo Lonely has been closing in on Crime. Crime has dropped his pace. I'm pretty sure he's struggling with his tires at this point. Giorgio went into the pits for replacement onto the medium tires. He's struggling, but just overtook Taraku, but he's struggling to get his way up through the pack once again. But yeah, Colin is going to have the DRS. Crime is weaving there, trying to deny Slipstream. Quite unsportsmanlike, I would say, but that's just my personal opinion. Colin Lonely is going to sit in P4 for the time being, but Crime is definitely trying to defend as hard as he can. I could control through the keyboard, but for me it would actually screw me up quite a bit. I can navigate through the menus much quicker with the controller. I'm just used to doing it with the controller, with the keyboard. It would probably be quite weird to me, and I would miss lots of stuff because I'm not used to the menus. Alone, as you can see, another session of weaving from Crime, but no matter what side you weave on, Only almost going into the curb, into the grass there, into turn 1 on the braking zone. He goes wide, loses the rear, smashes into Crime. What a mistake there from Colored Lonely. What a mistake. Those hards are not as grippy as the mediums or the softs, and he paid the price there. Rob Stark goes into the pits, gets a 5 seconds penalty for speeding, and Goziag just moves up. Sorry, that's not Goziag, that looks like he's Aziox, who's actually been lapped. Just says thank you very much and moves up a place. Crime is going to have clean air around him at this point. Colored Lonely, pretty big mistake there. Very unfortunate to see how well he was doing to catch up to Crime, and once he actually had the maneuver done, making a mistake there. Actually, I don't know if that didn't give Crime damage. The front wing is black, so it's going to be hard for me to see. Looks like there's no damage on the Alfa Romeo, but nonetheless, it's very sad to see such a good race from Colored Lonely go up in smoke like that. Nonetheless, the show must move on, and we have Brazian moving on a place through the inside of Garrigan, moves up to P9, the Red Bull driver. Garrigan is trying to maintain himself in contention there around the outside. He's actually going to dive the inside. There's a mistake there from the Red Bull, who has to take the long way around the gravel traps. That was a very big mistake, I'm sure of that. As we have action in the pit lane, we have Black Widow switching to the hard tires. She is going to rejoin the track ahead of Cuba, so she jumped Cuba. Black Widow got undercut by Cuba, still jumped him, because Cuba, I'm pretty sure Cuba was messing with traffic all this time. So jumped Cuba, and Cuba has to pit once again. Black Widow does not. Goziag is up in P4. There's a bit of lag moment there with Lasher, and Lasher gets through up to P4. So Lasher, on brand new tires, moves up a place, and there goes down the order. The Canadian hasn't pitted yet, that's why he's so far up the pack. but he's also going for the one stop. So he's on the cards for a good performance, kept himself out of trouble, at least so far, and is going to have a go at possibly a points bank position even after his pit stop. We have action in the back of the pack. Progza is battling Taraku for 11th place. Looks like he managed to get the job done. His tires are not only fresher but softer. Radek overtakes and Solo still hasn't pitted, so of course Radek is going to have an easier time getting past. The same as it was between Progza and Taraku. Softer tires on the car that currently is ahead. There is a very close time gap between Cuba and Black Widow. Let's see if Cuba is going to overtake. He does win the drag race into turn 1. Will Black Widow get the cutback? No, she does not, and is going to stay put in P3. Goziak goes into the pits finally. Managed to take mediums for 13 laps. The strategy says, or at least theoretically, the strategy says to me that the optimal time would be at lap 11. He actually managed to extend the tires, so very well done by Goziag. Probably lost a bit of tire life towards the end of the stint, but nonetheless, doing very well and is out from the pits in P13. Cornered Lonely involved in a battle there with Taraku and Wizok for P10. Wizok goes for the switchback on Taraku, but those drivers, Wizok is on 6th lap, holds soft, he backs out. Cornered Lonely needs to buy momentary contact between the Toro Rosso and the Alfa Romeo. The Toro Rosso managed to control the car and not spin out, but the Racing Point says thank you very much and moves up to P11. Is going to have now at the exit of turn 10 much better traction. Look, there are 12 laps difference in the tire wear between Tarakus and Colored Lonely. Lonely also has a softer compound overall and very easily done. Got better traction, better acceleration, better grip overall. Throws it on the inside, rather easy maneuver up to P10 is Colored Lonely and back into the points. So that mistake is costly, but it still is in contention for the points of the top 10. Black Widow is losing a bit of time to Cuba. Maybe Black Widow isn't as comfortable on these tires. Cuba is on softer tires. They are more worn out, but it's still softer, right? So if you are good enough on managing the tires, you can still have some good laps out of those, 1 or 2 more good laps before they start going off the cliff. So Cuba is close to his pit stop window. For those who are on the 2-stop strategy, I would say lap 17 is when you should pit for your second set of mediums. So 2 laps until Cuba dives into the pit lane. Lira is just 4 seconds away from the pair that you have on your screen. So Lira is comfortably on his merry way. He's trying to go the one stop from soft to hard. Lira can take it easy because he has a comfortable gap, but let's see. I'm quite curious to see if Lira can actually pull off the soft to medium strategy. Black Widow making a mistake there. That's going to cost her a couple tenths as she keeps herself in P3, not having a chance to contest for P2. But we have Aziox. I'm going to confirm that. Yes, it is Aziox getting DRS on Black Widow. This is a very tricky spot to be at because Aziox is a lap down, but he's on brand new tires. He needs to try and make something work, but he's stuck behind the leaders. I don't think there's much he can do, unfortunately for him. Gary Gunn going into the pits, going to get rid of his mediums to get the second set of mediums. Of course, the animation lagged there for me, unfortunately. Oh, actually a replacement of front wing as well. So maybe there was a 5-second grid penalty. I thought that was lag to me, but maybe that was just a 5-second stop and go penalty. Away he goes out of the pits. Drop down to P15, probably behind Progza as well. So yeah, P17 as Cohen Blake gets overtaken by Progza into turn 1. Cohen Blake struggling at this point on those 11 lap old hards, which is normal. Proxy is much fresher, although hard tires, they are much fresher, and therefore as an easy time getting past the Renault. Looking back towards the front, Crime and Radek are coming to blows for P5. Radek hasn't done his second pit stop yet. Crime is on newer, harder tires, but they are newer. Let's see. It's going to be interesting to see who gets better exit. Georgia is going to have prime seat in the house for this battle. Let's see how it goes. Crime is going to challenge Radek. Georgia lost out on the exits. The Alfa Romeo is going down the inside of the Mercedes. Will the Mercedes do the switchback? Now he's going to try to go around the outside, taking use of his superior traction perhaps on the softer compound. Shoves Crime a little bit wide. That contact sometimes happens, and George just splits the opponents, gets right through the middle of them, getting much better momentum on the exit. Of course, the exit didn't get compromised by a battle, but Crime now might take the chance to overtake the Mercedes. They are side by side. There is contact once again between the Mercedes and the Alfa Romeo. He's not giving up yet, though. Down the inside of turn number 8, losing the rear on the exit down, not able to put the power down as smoothly as he wanted, and is going to settle for 7th place at this point. Brilliant maneuver from Georgia, not compromising his exit and just overtaking both of them using DRS down into turn 4. Brilliant maneuver there from the Racing Point. Great racing. In the meantime, we had Brazian overtake Gozi Egg, who's actually at this point coming under pressure from Rob Stark. And we have another change of position for P2, and Kuba takes his cue to go into the pits and replace his tires for a brand new set of mediums that is going to comfortably take into the end. Lasher is promoted to P3 with all this. Let's see, will Georgia get himself promoted as well? Yes, he does. Cuba, Radek and Crime are also going to jump up. Cuba is he going to lose out on 8th place, or rather in 7th, and maybe on 8th. Colored Lonely is coming through as well. It's going to be close between the two. Colored Lonely has another set of contact with the rival into turn 1, and his tire is older. Cuba's tires are cold, but manages to put the power down quite smoothly and defends from Colored Lonely. So P8 for the Mercedes driver. He just has to push until the end, no worries about the tires, and Solo S17 all lap old tires, so he's going to have it's going to be long 10 laps until the end. Actually, a very long 11 laps until the end. I'm not sure if he can take the hard tires that long without pitting. I'm pretty sure he would like to pit with about 8 laps to go for a set of softs, but it is what it is so far from the Williams driver. Of course, the Williams driver can just push later on softs, but for the time being he's going to struggle defending from Cuba. Looking up and down the order, the gaps, Crime is still under 3/10 away from Radek. Is going to be able to get a run at him. I'm pretty sure of that. Cuba is going to get a run at end even before the DRS straight. Looks like so. It's actually going down the inside, and he burns the corner, and Solo is going to come back, and it's going to be tight, but you have to take a look at this one. Crime on the inside of Radek using DRS, burns a bit of the braking, but manages to hold it through, and Solo finally goes into the pits. Colored Lonely corner cuts. He actually missed the corner completely. Was there contact with Cuba? No, there wasn't contact with Cuba. Brazian gets promoted to P9, and Solo gets promoted or demoted outside of the top 10. Let's see where he comes out. He's coming out behind Gozieg, but he's on mediums. So he opts to go back on mediums instead of waiting for the softs, which, I mean, I'm not driving that car. I'm pretty sure he was struggling enough on those hards, and extracted the best he could in his view, and he's satisfied with that. On the mediums now, and he can just push until the end, maybe still collect at least a point for his trouble. Taking a look at the battle, Radek is now losing ground to Crime. His tires, despite being softer, have double the laps done on them. So he is losing time to Crime. His teammate Cuba is just under 5 seconds away. As you can see there, going wide through corner number 13. Georgia gets a 3-second time penalty, just like Overseer. Georgia is 10 seconds behind Lasher, so he's not going to contest that one. Jumping back to the front, Lyra has been losing time to Black Widow. Black Widow has been slowly but surely gaining time on the Haas driver. The Haas driver is pulling off the one stop from softs to hards. Is going to struggle a bit more towards the end. Black Widow looks like she's comfortable on those hards. We might have a very good race right down to the wire. Black Widow has a ERS advantage. I don't know about fuel, but we might have it come down right to the last lap. 3.2 seconds is now the gap, and it keeps on shrinking. Very good pace Black Widow has at the moment. Radek already dropped off. Over 1 second is the gap between Radek and the Alfa Romeo driver. Kuba, as you can see, is also just over 3 seconds away. So Radek at some point will have to pit. I'm not sure Radek is going to take those tires home. I thought Radek and Kuba were on the same strategy. I guess Radek is trying to go from softs to medium and to softs again. He can't pull that off. He could actually pit right now. I would actually say that he probably could pit. He probably could pit on the previous lap. Because the thing is, at these points, the cars are lighter on fuel. If the cars are lighter on fuel, they are not to put so much pressure on the tires. I would argue he could have pitted the previous lap and still be comfortable on the softs. He goes into the pit at the end of lap number 21, going to switch for a set of softs, and it's going to be 8-9 laps of pushing until the end of the race. It's going to get put behind Brazian, I would say, coming out of the pits. Let's see. I believe so, yes. Rob Stark is going to overtake. I'm not sure. I do not think so. So Radek is on the points nonetheless. Oh, Rob Stark actually overtook the Czech driver of the Mercedes. But my point still stands. Radek is in the top 10 no matter what. He's actually on the softest, newer tires of the entire pack. And he is, as we have yellow flags, I couldn't catch what sector it was. And I don't see anyone losing time severely, so I don't know necessarily who that was. Sector 3 has yellow flags, probably Cohen Blake, not sure, maybe Wizok. But as I was saying, Radek has the softest, youngest tires. He might be going for the fastest lap, and of course he's on the points unless he does a mistake. So for him is a win-win scenario. He just has to push, try to get as high on the pack as he can, and push as well to maybe get the 1 point given for the flying lap. Black Widow has been closing down on Lyra. You look at that, you can see Lyra on the camera there. Black Widow can just see him through the corners. Georgia is going into the pits to set softs, I would assume. He might get out of the pits in P11, I would suppose. There's a mistake from Black Widow! Black Widow having a big off, coming downhill through corner number 7. Lasher is going to come up into P2. What an unfortunate moment there from Black Widow. So heartbreaking to see the Red Bull driver losing the rear through there. It's a downhill transition. The rear gets light through that transition, and just paying the price there was Black Widow. Heartbreaking stuff. And he's now 12 seconds away from the lead. I think that mistake has sealed the deal for Lyra, but Black Widow is going to try. She knows she has the pace. She knows she can take the battle to Lasher. Let's see. Of course, spinning around gave her lots of wear on the tires, I assume. But let's see how that one develops. So Georgia comes out of the pits ahead of Radek, actually. So nicely done from Georgia. Fresher tires even than Radek, so he's just ahead. He can push still push for the fastest lap and finish ahead of Radek. Yeah, I'm actually impressed from George's pace, from George's race management as well. He didn't show up for the Australian Grand Prix, so he is an absolute unknown to me, but I'm actually impressed from Georgia. Didn't have the best qualifying, but managed to get through his teammate. He actually managed to avoid ugly contact between himself and his teammate, managed to keep himself together through his strategy, and is coming back through it on the softs. He might actually overtake his teammate at the end of this race, so let's see how that goes. Lasher is slowly but surely gaining on Lira as well, but is nowhere near what it needs to be to overtake Black Widow in the last lap. Has lost time to Lasher actually. So unfortunately for her, this might seal the deal for her chances of getting P2 as well. Jumping to Cuba, who is another Mercedes, coming to blows with the Alfa Romeo. Cuba has half the tire life of Crime, as Crime goes on another weaving session. And yeah, Cuba is not only on tires that are half as old, and they're also softer, so I am expecting Cuba to mount an attack on the Bulgarian in the next DRS zone. Let's see how it goes. Cuba this time around opts to try and go for the weaving session as well. Let's see how it goes. Look at how much he closes on that braking zone, how much traction he has. Crime goes very wide there. DRS is open on the back of that Mercedes, and Crime actually weaves to the outside. That's okay. That is unexpected for me. Maybe going for the switchback? No! I mean, he went for the switchback, but Cuba slowing down on the apex, preventing that. Man, very well done. And actually prevents Crime from coming back to him as Cuba takes P4 for his own. Georgia, fastest lap for him. He already got past Rob Stark. Radek made a mistake somewhere along the way. He's down behind the German. So as you can actually see at the end of that camera shot, they are getting through turn 2 and 3 right now. Radek will he challenge Rob Stark? It looks like he's too far away to challenge the German. But yes, Georgia fastest lap, and is going to be on the charge as is getting closer and closer to Brazian. Of course, the difference in tires, new softs to old mediums, it's very big, the difference. I don't think Brazian can do much to defend. He's going to have DRS. No, he's actually not going to have DRS at this point, but we are going to follow on board with the Racing Points driver, just for you guys to have visual cues about how much time Georgia gains on the corners. If you look at the intervals as well, Lira lost 2 seconds to Lasher and keeps on losing. I'm not sure if Lira is just lifting off trying to conserve his tires, because he knows he has the gap to manage. But Lasher is losing time, he's gaining time to Lira, and Black Widow is quicker than both of them. So, whew, this is shaping up to be interesting. This is shaping up to be interesting indeed. 4 laps to go in this Bahrain Grand Prix, second round of our wheel-to-wheel Tier 2 Championship. So let's see how it goes. Georgia has actually not gained much time at all compared to Brazian. So maybe Georgia pushed too much trying to get that fastest lap, and now we're starting to feel the life draining on those tires at this point, as Radek finally overtakes Rob Stark, going down the inside of the German into turn 4, and up he goes into P9. Keeping tabs on the gaps at the front. Of course, this is a bit of a race managed by distance, right? They are racing each other, not wheel to wheel, but they are actually racing each other pretty hard. Lasher is pushing to make sure he closes in, I'm sure of that, and Black Widow is trying to get back to P2. So they are all pushing each other to be quicker, I would say, without actually being wheel to wheel, which is good to see. As a driver, this is sometimes very fun. You are pushing yourself, trying to close up to the car ahead, which is putting pressure on the car ahead, forces him to try to be quicker as well. So as a driver, this can be very fun to watch, as Rob Stark is not done. Despite having much older tires, he has 3 times older tires, also harder tires on his Ferrari, but Radek just cannot stop making mistakes. There's another mistake. Rob Stark goes into the back of him. Unfortunately, I didn't see any carbon fiber, and sorry, I got too excited there, moved my hand, and the USB cable came off. Rob Stark, once again, managing to not get damage on his front wing, but he's still in the fight for that P9. Radek just can't stop making mistakes. Brazian is keeping the 1 second gap to Georgia. Brilliantly done by the Red Bull driver, I must say. I would expect Georgia to already be charging on his teammate. The gap is 8 seconds. I don't think Georgia will be able to beat his teammate in this specific race. Colored Lonely has done 4th in the first race. Goziak retired. Goziak is in the wall. We are not going to have any form of safety car, unfortunately for us. If that crash happened earlier, maybe we could have a safety car. But at this point, we won't have that. And it is the end. A disastrous race for both McLarens. Asiox had to pit very early on for front wing replacement. Got lapped early on, couldn't come out of last place. And Goziak, that wasn't having the best of races, actually doesn't finish once again. He didn't finish the race in Australia, doesn't finish the race again. Asiox finished in 9th place at Australia, is now down to 19th and getting lapped once again. Taking a look at the racing points, Colored Lonely, as I was saying, he finished Australia in 4th, so he has very decent pace, but this time around, Crime being a bit better. Crime, who finished the race in 11th, so he definitely had his issues at Australia, so that was not where Crime was supposed to be in Australia, so it looks like he's a bit quicker. Cuba finished in P2, but Radek did not finish, so there's another contender there. And Black Widow finished the race in 8th. I believe she had contact somewhere along the way, so also another contender that's put out of contention, allowing Colored Lonely to move up a couple places on the results. I would say arguably Colored Lonely is doing the exact same performance, just Black Widow and Crime didn't have mistakes, or mistakes that would put them behind Colored Lonely. I would say Colored Lonely would have finished P6 as well in Australia if it wasn't for the mistakes of Crime and Black Widow. So I'm pretty sure Colored is having some nice consistency, and I'm sure he's happy with how the race is going so far. Brazian got the penalty though. Brazian got a penalty. Brazian got a penalty. Georgia has already managed to get under 1 second of the car ahead. Doesn't look like he has enough on the tank to pressurize into an overtake at the moment. We are actually going to take a look at the battle for the front as Black Widow gets a 3-second time penalty. That is so unfortunate. I'm going to take a look real quick at Lyra to see if he has any penalties. No penalties, just a warning from Lyra. 3 warnings, but I didn't see plus a penalty, so maybe a warning was for a collision or something, or maybe for crossing the white line coming out of the pits. Black Widow does have a penalty, unfortunately, so Black Widow won't be able to get P2, and Lasher is within 3/10 now. He's been closing in rather quickly. I'm pretty sure Lyra is on full-on race management mode, almost 20 laps. He's going to finish the race with 20 laps on his hards, and is actually, he's actually on full-on tire management mode, just trying to conserve. He knows he has the gap to play with, especially after Black Widow's mistake. He got a big breath of fresh air that was able to let him survive through there. Georgia hasn't been able to overtake Brazian, and I'm not sure if he's going to have any chances of doing so. Maybe now into turn 1, but maybe into turn 4. Looks like he's quite... They have similar amounts of ERS. Let's see. Grosjean has over double of the amount of laps on his tires than Georgia, but Georgia is just not able to capitalize on that. DRS wide open once again. He's going to take the slipstream of Grosjean. Is he going to? No, he's not going to launch it down the inside. I'm not sure if Georgia is going to have the possibility to make himself up into P7. He does have the extra point for the fastest lap. But Lira, take a look at that. From softs to mediums, full on conservation mode at the end, but doesn't matter. He just didn't make the mistakes where others did, and that is part of racing. As he just has officially 2 corners to go, it's just one steering motion. You could see Lasher just at the end of that camera shot before Lira took the corner. But there you have it. Lira is going to cross over the line to take home the win of the Bahrain Grand Prix. What a performance from the Croatian, as Lasher takes home P2. The Romanian takes home P2. Black Widow did well, but that mistake at the end is going to only get her P3. Cuba making the 2-stop work, best of the 2-stop runners, getting P4 at the end. Crime P5. Corrad Lonely had his fair share of misfortunes, especially his contact with Crime. Gets P6 at the end. Respectable result. Grosjean manages to finish ahead of Georgia, Radek and Rob Stark. I saw Rob Stark got a penalty on the race control messages. Cohen, Blake, Garrigan and Oversteer were all lapped, so they have already crossed the line. But we have Radek and Rob Stark crossing over the line, so Rob Stark had the penalty, maintains P10. Proxa is going to cross P11. I already got notified on on Steam that Black Widow is not going to be able to join us for the podium, so unfortunately we are only going to have Lira and Lasher on the podium this time around. But yeah, all the grid is complete. We now just have to take a look at the official race results and of course getting through the podium celebrations. So yeah, there you have it. Another race, another win for the Haas. Actually a 1-2 for the Haas, thing that they didn't manage to do at Australia. It was a 1-3. They are both running with the car number 13, funnily enough. But yeah, great result from all 3 of them. Just heartbreaking to see Black Widow could have taken the win and doesn't even get P2. So heartbreaking stuff for her. But I'm sure she's going to pick herself up and push for the next race. So yeah, with that, just taking a look at our official results. Lira P1, Lasher P2, Black Widow P3, Cuba P4, Crime P5, Coral Lonely P6, Grosjean P7, Georgia in P8, Radek in P9, Rob Stark closes the top 10. Georgia did get the fastest lap out of everyone, so gets 1 extra points. Then we had Proxa, Taraku, Wizok and Solo, Cohen, Blake, Gary Gunn, Lee Overseer had a very bad debut race, as Yox and Godziak also not finishing the race. So we're going to leave the session, get ourselves on Discord to get in the call with both race finishers. So let me just maybe they are no, okay, so let me call them real quick. Discord. Okay, so I just told them to get into the call or the voice chat. I'm going to, sorry about that. So just going to wait for them to get in. Lasher is already in, but he is muted, just waiting for Lira to get in. Widow just said on Steam she's not available. She has something to do early in the morning. Told me she has to wake up at 3 a.m. tomorrow, so yeah, pretty sure she needs the sleep. So She deserved it. It was a good race, unfortunate mistake, but nonetheless, a good job for a Black Widow. While we wait for Lyra Lasher, then P2, you had a good start. The race, you kept yourself out of trouble, and then were you expecting on pace to be able to catch up to Black Widow?
No, no way. I did not think that I'll be able to get a podium until I got pretty much to third place, and then there was no way I was catching Widow without that.
Okay, so yeah, it was a very
Hello.
unfortunate mistake. But yeah, overall about your race, what do you have to say? I saw it was a clean race. You were quite alone for a big part of it. So yeah, do you have anything to say about that?
No, I'm glad I stayed out of trouble, and that's pretty much it. Was a surprise to get second place and a Haas one.
Yeah, it was a very good Oz 1-2 indeed. Lyra, what's up? How are you doing?
Hello.
Hey, uh, great qualifying once again. And you were the only one who started on the softs and managed to pull off the one stop. How much were you? How much were you? First, I want to know how much were you sweating as you were seeing the gap drop from you to Black Widow, and how much was the relief after you saw she spun?
I thought she will definitely gonna catch me, but because I was on a I don't know 15 lap all tires,
Yeah, something along
so
that.
it was a relief. But I don't know. I think I should have done two steps.
Yeah, well, it kept things interesting. If it wasn't for the mistake there, it kept things interesting, especially as you were going on full on tire conservation in the last couple laps. You had that 10-second gap after the mistake. You got a 10-second gap to second place, and you managed to defend that very nicely done. I would commend you on that one. Especially there was about 3 laps to go. The gap, you had been dropping 1.5 seconds per lap, something along those lines, and there was a lap where you actually only lost about 5 tenths, something along those lines. That I would say that was a big part of your win. Um, but how do you know how much percentage of wear did you have on your tires at the end?
I didn't check towards the end, but at lap 24 it was like 55%.
Yeah, especially around Bahrain,
Yeah,
that's quite
yes,
difficult to
yes.
deal with. I know from experience, I can tell you that. So yeah, 1-2 for Haas, and you guys are going strong on the championship, both the drivers and the constructors. Was that something you were expecting from the start of the league? Was your target to win both drivers and constructors championships?
I didn't know how I would match up against the other guys, so I don't know.
Oh, okay, okay. I would guess it wasn't a target then. So yeah, thank you for your word, guys, and I'm going to leave the voice call. Hope to see you guys next race weekend. Good job, guys.
See ya.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, guys, this is it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like button. If you did not, the dislike button is, as always, right beside it. Subscribe if you like to see more. Hit the bell icon for any notifications of whenever I'm about to start a live stream or to post a video. Hope to see you guys next time, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.